You talked about creating this sense of home when you're on the road, and this is where I'd love to take the next part of our conversation. At Conscious Economics and at Lunar Studios, we've been really, really focused on the experience of music workers and touring musicians and the real toll it takes to do that work, especially as the industry has changed. And, now it's really all about touring, and even that post-COVID has its own new challenges and layers. So in terms of wellness and mental health, how have you been able to manage yourself as a woman, as a being living in a world and with a career that demands so much of you and so much, away, or not being rooted in that beautiful space that you call home?
Mm-hmm. Well, I spent 20 years of my life on the road, and I mean sort of 50-50. So yeah, I guess over a course of 2 decades, that's a whole decade of being not home. And I started out not really understanding about how to advocate for myself. I think musicians historically have been, at a place where you want the gigs and you know that someone will do it for less. And so you end up sacrificing some of your own personal comfort. It's an erosion process. I think it doesn't always start that way, but it can happen really, really quickly. And it's such a slippery slope. I wasted time, I wasted energy, I wasted effort, and a lot of things that didn't serve me, and the toll was high. I don't think I even fully understood how hard it was to be in that lifestyle for 20 years until I stopped. And I've talked to a lot of my colleagues who feel the same way, that, in 2020 to have a stop and to have that sense of everything that has been chasing you or that you've been running from to catch up with you and then settle. It took a really long time. I'm still not sure that I have worked my way through kind of what the effects on my body were for that much hustle and that much being unsure and, quicksand that you have to sort of occupy. But again, I also honor that because it taught me a lot about what is valuable, and it allowed me to learn to advocate for myself, and the one of the biggest times, it's hard being the only woman in a band. And that was my role very many times on the road, just for many reasons. You don't have an ally. You don't have someone who understands certain things about just your life. And I had good people around me too. I mean, I'm not being disparaging about my bandmates, because sometimes they don't know what you don't know about someone else's experience. And I did go at one point and I wanted my own room on the road because it was so taxing. And also I felt it was disrespectful to the wives of some of my bandmates who perhaps weren't that comfortable either. But, it painted me into that classic female thing, which was then I was a problem because I was more expensive to bring on the road. And, I understood it at the time as well. I mean, margins are tight and it's really hard. But it was a real sort of lesson of, okay, well, I guess if I'm too expensive, then maybe this isn't the place for me, and I need to make other arrangements. But in that and in that understanding, it brought me to people who did think I was worth that investment and wanted to have that, and also gave me the impetus to start things on my own, to create a space where others would feel comfortable, where I was valued, where they were valued. So like any no, it can be jujitsu'd into a yes and that was a real lesson. Now at the ripe old age of 43, I do have a kind of a metric that I use for opportunities. I think what is sort of the rule of 3? It has to be 2 out of 3. It's good people, good music, or good pay. And 2 out of 3 should be covered. Hopefully 3 out of 3 in the best case scenario. But just so you're happy to have made that decision to join and be there. I think that's really important. And I wish I'd known earlier that saying no to things doesn't always shut down things. It actually opens better possibilities. And it's such a hard lesson in the world of scarcity, but it has been extremely true.